Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, April 13th, 2023 South Haven Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And Luke, if you would, call the roll.
Clark Gruber.
Here.
Larry Heinig.
Here.
Darrell Williams.
Here.
Michael Neese.
Here.
Amy Nichols. Lige Haney.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Janice Varney. Tim Stegman.
Here.
I would make a motion to excuse Amy Nichols.
And Janice.
And Janice? Or just
And
Amy?
and Janice, I'm sorry.
Support.
I appreciate them both, and they both gave us heads up.
Yeah. It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, item 2, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of the meeting minutes from March 2nd.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meeting minutes from March 2nd as printed.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes from March 2nd, 2023. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 4, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the Planning Commission regarding items on the agenda for which there's no scheduled public hearing. So prior to inviting attendees up to the podium, I'll just go through my comment log from communications we've received in the last month. So there's 13 of them. Mary Hosley, zoning ordinance, comprehensive ordinance update items. Mary Hosley, zoning ordinance, comprehensive ordinance update items. Dan Agnello, zoning ordinance, comprehensive ordinance update items. Mary Hosley, zoning ordinance, comprehensive ordinance update items. Dan Agnello, zoning ordinance, comprehensive ordinance update items. City Manager Hosier, response to Elaine Herbert emails. Elaine Herbert, STR hold category. Elaine Herbert, STR hold category and historical records. Dan Agnello, Everett Park environmental concerns. Mary Hosley, height text amendments. Dan Agnello, comments about various agenda items. Annie Brown, Locker Center Street project should offer missing middle housing. And Jan Vores, support for 555 Phoenix project. I think that's all of them, correct? Okay. All right, so anybody wish to speak on items on the agenda? Please come forward, state your name, address. You'll have 5 minutes to comment.
Thank you, and let me clarify. There is no hearing set for item number 9, correct? So this would be the time to speak.
Correct.
All right. So that is to which I would speak. My name is Mike Campbell, and my address is 216 Erie Street. There's no doubt that the Center Street redevelopment is both exciting and important to South Haven. In fact, quoting from the staff report at page 76 of the PC packet, the scale of this project will be the most extensive development and most significant addition in the downtown in many decades. I would make 3 additional observations. This project occupies nearly 3/4 acre in the prime section of the CBD. This town probably won't see another project like this for many decades, if ever. And for the city, its residents and visitors, the structures in this project will be around for 100 or more years. Zoning Ordinance Section 1404 authorizes this body to require an applicant to develop a scale model of the proposed project, including the area within 100 feet of the site, as a condition for a final site plan. The staff report, however, concludes on page 51 of the packet, no scale model is necessary for this development project. I may be missing a critical fact, but this conclusion bewilders me. If a scale model is not necessary for a project of this size, cost, visibility, and importance, then what kind of project would require a scale model? I would ask one of you to ask staff for the rationale. I would also ask one of you to suggest the commission discuss the merits of a scale model. and document why it should or should not be required. Because of the importance and size of this project, I suggest the commission require the developer builder to prepare a scale model according to generally accepted standards for site plan models. The developer builder, in this case, is legally requesting a PUD designation to avoid having to seek a variance from the ZBA to build a 60-plus feet, 5-story structure in a district where zoning limits structures to be 45 feet and 3.5 stories. I have no position one way or the other about that's kind of a variance if it were to be given, but we're talking about a PUD designation that won't require them to go to ZBA. This allowance, if given, is a big benefit to the developer builder as it makes commencing the 5-story project versus the alternative they present more financially viable for them. And that is certainly a valid business consideration for them. However, part of the city's quid pro quo, if they grant such a benefit, should be having a better assurance that the project structures truly fit within the character of the space it occupies, including from a height perspective. Artist rendition photos like those included in the packet are one-dimensional, even when they purport to show things in a 3D fashion. And worse, they are a moment-in-time snapshot looking in one direction. A 3D scale model, on the other hand, provides a 360-degree view and perspective of the project sitting within its environment. A model will give a better sense of what the additional height you may give to the developer builder really does to the look and feel of the area. It will also give residents a view of the development upon completion to help them address the concerns they will and are going to raise, particularly given this site plan is quite different from the one that was presented at the May 21 open house. Requiring a model should not create additional burden on staff. That burden will be on the developer builder. In this case, I would hope that the developer builder, who is local, would actually be happy to comply. There is a cost, of course. Googling multiple sources, a model of this type probably is going to run into the tens of thousands of dollars, but it is a reasonable additional investment when compared to the millions that will already be invested. Please address why staff don't think a scale model is necessary, as well as the merits of requiring one as a part of your due diligence as you continue this site plan review process. Your names will be associated with this project, so I think it's prudent to do this, and I bet others may think so too. But it's up to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to, we don't have any unfinished business, so we'll do new business. 555 Phoenix and 272 Broadway, a special land use public hearing. Kelly?
Thank you. The proposed project for 555 Phoenix is one that we've
I want to
heard.
pull your mic
Oh,
closer.
sure. Yep, is one that we've heard some about in recent months. Mr. Brooks has talked quite a bit about his desire to redevelop this site. So the application that you have before you is for a special land use and site plan review for outdoor dining at the former Dairy Queen site. As a reminder, restaurants are permitted as uses by right in the central business district, but outdoor dining requires a special land use permit. So this property at 555 Phoenix and 272 Broadway currently consists of 4 individual parcels that contain the Dairy Queen, a 2-story commercial building immediately to the east, the parking lot between the Dairy Queen and City Hall, and an alleyway to the north of the 3, which runs from the City Hall property all the way to Broadway Street. And the applicant has applied for a lot combination to combine all 4 parcels into one for this development. So the combined parcel will retain the 2 existing 2-story buildings on the site, which will be renovated for restaurant use. In addition, there will be 4 200-square-foot fixed accessory structures proposed for the former parking lot on the site, which will be converted for seating, the outdoor seating area, and for serving drinks and food. They'll be served out of the accessory structures, pardon me. The site plan, the existing building will contain the kitchen and indoor dining options. So we do have the project representatives with us tonight, and we recommend hearing from them and conducting the public hearing and discussing the plans before making any decisions.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Could you put up page, I don't know, maybe 29 on the overhead? And then at this time, I'll invite the developer to come up. Is everybody happy with that as the
That's a
reference
good-
image for now? Okay,
All right, hi, good afternoon. My name is Ogden Wright. I'm the construction manager responsible for this project. I'm here with Trevor Brooks, project owner, Andrew Wolosich, site engineer responsible for the plans. What we're essentially proposing is the redevelopment of the existing parking lot area into an outdoor dining area, supplied with facilities for outdoor catering and concession sales. The facilities themselves, as Kelly mentioned, will be prefabricated accessory structures which will be built off-site and brought onto site and placed and secured using spade anchors and cables. The prefabricated accessory structures themselves will be accompanied by utility pedestals which would furnish the structures with water and electricity. The new water service line will tie into the existing water service line which feeds into the existing 555 Phoenix Street building. That's the building that you see right there, two-story restaurant building. The electricity supply itself, we're in the process of finalizing that plan, and the intended plan is to have the supply and the controls feed from the main building, the 555 Phoenix Street building. Work will also include regrading the site to effectively control stormwater runoff, with the runoff being guided towards dedicated drainage points. These dedicated drainage points will control the runoff using perforated pipes which will run on the ground and tie into newly installed catch basin structures which will all tie into the city's stormwater network. The surface itself will be redone using natural stone to allow for runoff to drain back into the soil, as well as to effectively handle the traffic on site. And we're expecting that all of this will be completed within 3 to 4 weeks' time.
okay. Any questions from the commission?
I-
For the developer, not for staff.
Yes, for the developer.
Okay.
Go right ahead, George.
I was looking at the engineering recommendations that our city engineer had provided. He had some additional recommendations. One of them was like to improve accessibility, widening the walkway that's in front of the accessory structures
Okay.
to like 10 feet.
Okay.
And also there was another one about, you talked about the water tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the water tie-in is in the right-of-way, and the city engineer would like that relocated
Okay.
out of the right-of-way. So I was just, one of the conditions I was considering was to also include the recommendations from the city engineer in the final
In the final
design.
plan. Okay.
Did you see any issues with that off the top of your head, or?
No, actually, I don't see any. You could possibly comment on that?
I don't see any issues with that
Okay.
either.
Okay.
That's more than reasonable.
I guess a question I had on the site plan, where's the dumpster?
So the existing dumpsters are behind the building where you see that overhang in the back.
Uh-huh.
We intend to leave the dumpsters in place. We'll just operate with it where they are at the moment.
Okay.
We had hoped to place them in the alleyway further up, right there, but we haven't had any meaningful response from the fire marshal as to whether or not that would be feasible in terms of site and, you know, safety for all the patrons, all the other buildings that are in proximity. So for now, we've decided to just hold off and use the existing location.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is this the appropriate time to ask questions about missing data in the site plan, or you want to hold that?
Well, it depends if you're going to ask the developer when we switch back to questions for staff.
I think it's a little of both.
Okay.
I do have a question, I think this applies to the developer, around more specifics on the lighting. My assumption is you'll be open evening hours. And if I read the site plan as presented, you have one pole lamp.
Okay.
Do you anticipate additional lighting, and what type of lighting would you have?
Yeah, in the, in the package, there's some renderings, and what we're going to do is, if you see the, what's the term, where the landscaping is going to be, there's going to be posts with, you know, the lights with the string lights with the drop lights and all that kind of stuff, so we're going to do all that. And then the building itself actually has large lights to fill the parking lot as well.
So again, Trevor, you've given consideration and thought to no light pollution into the sky. I mean,
Right, yeah, it's just going to be the drop lights off the, you know, you see them in other small parks and stuff like that, yeah. It's definitely not going to be, for sure.
thank you.
What's your concept for parking?
What's my concept for parking?
Yeah, where are your customers going to park?
They're
Some
gonna-
of us don't walk there, some of us drive to,
Well, so the reality of this particular property, it's basically an empty lot that somebody's put asphalt on it to pretend for it to be a parking lot, but in reality, it's not a parking lot. I spend probably at least an hour, if not more, every summer doing traffic, is because simply the spaces are not proper. When you put the cars side, you know, you can't. It's a major cluster. So the reality is I'm looking to, you know, redesign it and then have the people park in the same place they park for all of the other restaurants. So the parking behind. The one good thing with ours is the two major parking lots are, you know, right behind us and right across the street. So in reality, is, you know, we're going to be closer to the.
it's going to be use of the city-owned parking
Yes.
lots then? Okay. Signage, are you going to have any freestanding signs, signs on your building that identify you?
There's going to be, so the existing awning, the Dairy Queen awning is going to be taken down, and we're going to have a sign up front, just like everybody, you know, but I'm not going to do any signing. Each of the structures will have a sign but it's pointed into the, you know, into the park, essentially, so, but there won't be any sign out front or anything like that.
Okay, and then my last concern has to do with the surface in the eating area. It's identified as pea stone. My experience with pea stone is for drainage. That's pretty unstable material. Obviously, you have something other in mind than my drainage pea stone.
Yeah. So in the picture, you can see like around the edge and in front of the lot, there's going to be the pavers, the
The
large
pavers, right?
If,
Can you talk in the mic because I can't hear him at all?
He's really hard to hear.
can you pull the picture up? Yeah, see if you can see along the edge, that's going to be paver stones.
Right.
And on the front of the lot is, we're going to have the wrought iron fence with the large planters, essentially, to block in front of the fence. And then this picture doesn't represent it properly, but the front of the closest to Phoenix is going to have pavers that'll go into the property, you know, probably 20, 25 feet into the property. And then the rest of it will be the stone.
If I jump in here.
Yeah.
So the pea stone itself, as far as drainage is concerned, I had mentioned that we're using perforated pipes on the ground. The perforated pipes themselves will be wrapped with geotextile fabric. and encased, that assembly itself encased within coarser aggregate. So there's less chance of blockage of the actual holes themselves. The catch basins, those will be covered using solid covers, so there won't actually be opportunity for runoff to get into the catch basins that way, and then all that water will drain into the catch basin on the existing catch basin on the City Hall property. We've minimized the possibility of those small stones getting into the drainage network.
Okay. What I'm concerned about is someone pushing a wheelchair to one of those tables to sit down and eat with their family. Is that material going to be stable enough to push a wheelchair through?
What we're planning to do is to compact the stones in place so they effectively act as a solid surface. But it would still be permeable enough to allow for water to drain through the spaces.
It's probably not
One of the-
stone as you're thinking.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm assuming. There's probably not the same pea stone I used in drainage structures.
Yeah, the idea of this particular stone, it comes from my travels of all of the various types of park. It's actually pretty compact.
It has
So-
fine materials in it.
Right, but it's been compacted to the point where, so pushing that kind of, like a wheelchair or something like that shouldn't be of any, like, I can visualize what you're talking about. Consider that compacted by 70%.
Because you're also worried about migration of it out into
Yeah.
the street
Well,
and the front
That's my
sidewalk.
concern.
well, then that was part of what the city engineer talked about. in
Yeah,
his
so
letter.
that's all going to be mitigated by the fact that there's really kind of not going to be any, like, it's not going to be an open to the sidewalk. It's with the planters and the large pave at the front. The paving still might get front, but we're going to clean that, we're going to keep that all clean, so.
Okay, those are my questions.
Who's left? Anybody? No? Okay. Well, thank you. Stand by in case we need to bring you back up.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Do we know, like, what the address of the new property will be? Is it going to be the Phoenix Street or the Broadway address, or?
The address will be assigned after the lot combination is completed.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right, I guess I'll take my turn then. So Pea Stone, which Larry mentioned, I guess we're waiting to see what the actual aggregate is, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to know, Larry? Okay, just trying to figure out what's going to go in an eventual motion. The accessory structures, those have utilities? Did I hear that? All the accessory structures? Water, sewer, and electric? All three? Okay. And then we're looking for location of the garbage eventually, right? And Mike asked about lighting. Was there anything specific that you wanted staff to have on the plan?
Well, I'm satisfied with Trevor's plan on that. My concern was that it wasn't addressed, and if there is evening dining there, the wrong type of lighting could light up that whole block. So I just wanted to make sure that it was not light that was going to produce enough light pollution that would take away the amenities that it's going to offer.
Okay. The next one, so there's 3 parcels here, is that correct? 4 parcels. And the reason for combining the 4 parcels is to allow for accessory structures?
The reason for the parcel combination is to allow for the accessory structure, yes.
Okay. Now, with that happening, with our sign ordinance, you wind up with one address, and it changes the quantity of signage that can be allowed. And he mentioned that they'll have additional signage on the accessory structures. So I would imagine with the total square footage allowed for one address, that'll end up making the main sign or sign smaller in order to add other signs to accessory structures. Would that be correct?
The square footage of the sign allowed is based on the square footage of the wall itself, and one per tenant, assuming it's a wall sign. One sign per tenant of the building would be permitted
Okay.
per wall. If at the corner building could have a second sign on the second wall.
So this is, if this is approved, there'll be conditions on this approval. And I don't know if this is one, since it's a bit out of the ordinary from what we do, if you want to see that again, to see how Kelly interprets the rule when dealing with the developer.
Speaking frankly, I mean, my preference would have been we would have had this information up front. But since we don't, we need to have that taken care of. My concern, Mr. Chairman, is we're running into the beginning of tourist season, and I'd like to be able to have this moved ahead as quickly as possible with paying due diligence to the ordinance.
You know?
But,
Well, I think the project could still go ahead. It's just signs couldn't be put up until,
as it pertains to signs, yes, I agree with you.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
thought.
you do have the right to ask to have this project come back to review the signage, but staff does administratively approve sign permits every day.
Right.
So I think it's something that we're comfortable with. It's just
But I imagine there's going to be multiple signs that are going to have to come off of that square footage.
yes, and that's true of other buildings as well. The bank building downtown, Walmart, other large buildings are allowed multiple signs, and we do those administratively.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's up to you.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that
Well, and that's why I'm mentioning it to the commission. I don't make the motions, so whatever you guys want to do. I think that's it for my list. So unless there's further questions for staff, does anybody wish to architect a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, as a friendly reminder, we have to hold a public hearing
Oh,
on this
yes,
topic.
we
Thank
do.
you, Griffin.
We do. So that would be the motion I'm looking for.
to open a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing's open. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? If so, please come up, state your name. You'll have 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I'll entertain another motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Next up is the actual motion.
Could I ask a couple of questions of staff first,
Okay.
just to help me get a motion on? What section would we refer to for signage, and what section would we refer to for lighting?
Signage.
Ordinance?
Yeah, signage is Article 20.
Okay.
Lighting, exterior lighting is covered in Article 17, and you'll have to give me a moment to find the exact section, please.
17 will be close enough, won't it? Or do you want us to be more specific?
I think we're comfortable with it. It depends what the intent of your motion is.
Okay.
Unless Mike beats you to it. He's over there working on it.
Section 1710 covers exterior lighting.
1710, okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move that we approve the special land use, nope, I'm in the wrong section here, aren't I?
Special land use?
Yes, for 555 Phoenix / 272 Broadway with including the recommendations on page 15 of the staff report, 1 through 7. Adding number 8, all requirements contained in the city engineer's letter of April 13, 2023 must be met. Number 9, signs provided must meet the requirements of section 20. And number 10, lighting must meet the requirements of section 1710.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Just a reminder to the developer to get with staff and get that approved before doing the signs, not
Vice versa.
later when reminded.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, good luck. Item 6, site plan approval extension. This will be a zoning text amendment. We'll have a public hearing as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Kelly?
So, we have proposed what is intended to be a fairly straightforward amendment to section 1406 of the zoning ordinance that would allow the planning commission to extend site plan approval for a period of up to 12 months. Currently, when the planning commission approves a site plan, the approval is valid for a period of 1 year. And if an applicant needs an extension, the planning commission may grant one extension of 60 days. So the prompting for this is really just that the planning commission has approved several projects over the past year that are facing delays for a variety of reasons, material lead times, ordering delays, contractor scheduling, labor shortages. I think we kind of are familiar with the story. And they anticipate needing extensions of site plan approvals in order to get construction underway. So again, these amendments would require an applicant to request the extension with at least 30 days' notice. The request would be considered by the Planning Commission at a public meeting, and an extension of the site plan approval of up to 12 months could be granted. So we do need to hold a public hearing, and then you all can discuss the proposed changes.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can add just a little bit to that, when crafting this ordinance amendment, really what it stemmed from is the concept of in today's world, a 60-day extension when it comes to getting materials, scheduling contractors, and all the other challenges that they may face. In a lot of cases, really doesn't make much of a difference, and then we all get pretty hamstrung when it comes to continuing to allow these projects that had been approved to move forward. The way the ordinance amendment was written, it requires that this be requested by the applicant, go before the Planning Commission, and that they present their case to you all. They explain what is going on, why do they deserve this extension, and then you all ultimately get to vote on it. So it's not intended to just let a project that someone chose not to advance for whatever reason to continue. It's based on them presenting some kind of reason for that. We also did quite a bit of comparison of some other ordinances. I don't remember specific communities off the top of my head, but it was not uncommon to see 6 month to 1 year. I think we even saw a couple 18-month extension periods. Our 60-day that we had was kind of the anomaly for how short it was.
Okay, any questions for staff at this point? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
I'd like to motion to open up the public hearing on this item. Second.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is open. Anybody wish to speak about this item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, public hearing is closed. Now, any additional questions for staff?
Yeah, I suppose just a little bit of information for me to help me make my decision here. Obviously, COVID and the supply chain disruption was an unusual event, hopefully one we don't have to live through again. My concern is this, how many of the folks or how many of the site plans that we've approved in the last year are asking for this type of ordinance? Are we doing this for a client? Or are we finding?
So no one has specifically requested this at all. This is staff trying to be proactive, recognizing that I can think of 3 off the top of my head that are coming up in the next couple months that were significant projects in the community that went through very thorough review processes before this group, and for all of the reasons we mentioned have been slowed down. I also agree with you. I hope that these supply chain delays and other things are not the future, but I also am hesitant to say that. I think just by the length of these things lasting since COVID in 2020, I think these might be part of our new reality. So just recognizing that, staff at least felt like this was a reasonable request to try to be fair and supportive to developments that have already gone through the process of getting approved by you all.
Thank you, Griffin. And again, my question was not to burden our developers. I understand where we can give relief, we ought to. My concern is the way the process has been laid out. It has de facto changed our deadlines for site plans to 2 years, not 1 year. Because I can't imagine a situation when somebody's coming in here to ask for the extension, if we've granted it to others, we're going to grant it to all.
I agree with that in part, but they would still have to come before you all, and you all would still have to grant that and would still have to determine it. So I guess theoretically, they would still have their 12 months originally, and yeah, they'd have the option for another 12 months if you all granted it. But saying de facto they get it, I don't know if I agree with that. They'd still have to go through the process.
I understand the process has that check-in. I'm also a common sense human being that has watched us in motion for 6 years. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
That's is actually my concern as well with it, but I do understand that, especially with some of the projects coming up, these are projects that are going to transform the way our community is going to look and feel moving up. So being able to make sure that our developers aren't hamstrung by, I don't think 60 days is enough, personally. But I do like to check in the balance in it. That being said, I don't think it's an anomaly to give this year, because it's other communities have given more, and some have given less, but none, as Griffin alluded to, have done 60 days. So I think it's quite apparent that something needs to be done. I don't think the status quo should be the norm.
And if I can, Planning Commission, I think, a year was our recommendation based on, the research that we've done, but by no means do you all not have the right to reduce that to 6 months or 8 months or to some other number that makes you all more comfortable. Again, this was more of the starting point for where we were making our recommendation from.
Even at projects we have at Corwell Health South, which used to be called Spectrum Health, Lakeland, which used to be called Lakeland. So project that we've got going on down there, we're still seeing the effects of trying to finish up a project. It's been years delayed, and you would think by now things could show up and have been installed, and they're still seeing that. Now, that's a project that's already kicked off.
Yeah.
We're just talking about starting to dig the hole and get going on a project, not necessarily completing the project. I can see where staff wants to be proactive in this. 60 days to me seems fairly short percentage of a 1-year ask. So, even a 6 months triples that time frame pretty quick. One of the things that can happen though, and that I've seen, we have a big project come through, someone decides they're going to do X. And we suddenly scratch our heads going, well, we don't really have an ordinance on X, so I guess you can do it. And then we decide to create an ordinance that goes around X. And we know in the future, if anyone else comes before us, they would have to do that. And now we've got a project potentially that's going to start 2 years after changing an ordinance. And lo and behold, you would think they may have had time to adjust their project to stay within the ordinance, but they wouldn't necessarily have to because they have an approved plan, So to me, that's really the only big downside. We've still approved a project. It's gone through multiple approvers, work with staff. It's just trying to either better secure funding or grants to go forward with starting a project. So I don't know how to get around, do we say you can have a 6-month extension and another 6-month extension if any ordinance has changed in that time frame? You got to design to the ordinance.
So that was my question to staff, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was going to ask. And Kelly, maybe you want to touch on that?
Right, so if there was a change to the ordinance and the planning commission wanted to see adherence to that change, then it would behoove you to deny the extension and require the applicant to come back. Because the site plan is approved, and you can't, that approval stands. You can't require adherence to new ordinance with an approved site plan.
But that would be a good way to cover ourselves then. Look, you got 12 months, the ordinance changed.
Yes.
There's your in. If you have to wait, we'll probably do an extension, but now you've got to redo your plan. And, and maybe we say we don't necessarily require a financial, dollars to do that second
Which
extension.
has been done before.
Which has been done before because of that extension, but now that an ordinance has changed, you have to adhere to it. That would fix that potential problem.
And a case in point would be 335 Center with the balconies over the
Balconies.
sidewalk. And we changed that ordinance. So that particular project, let's say they didn't start it, but we had saw what the problem with the design, or what we perceived as a problem of the design being safety over the sidewalk. And they didn't start it, but yet we went ahead, because oftentimes these projects do bring to light certain weaknesses or vague language in our ordinances that can almost be viewed as a loophole.
Another case in point, maybe the timing wasn't exactly right, but an ordinance change would be Everett Park and parking. That's a good example of just in the eyes of residents to suddenly see that project completely take off and know, yeah, that's old parking requirements. And that's why you see, a 5-bedroom home and maybe only 2 parking spaces and wonder why. So this would help us out with that. So requiring that for the up would then get us out of that. That's a good.
Well, and one
that's a good
particular
fix.
that I can think of is the Consumers Project. We still have to work through exactly what the 0 or 10-foot setback is in the CBD. That one could possibly be impacted because it's something I've been wanting this board to look at, but we haven't done it yet. So. So basically, the question that Clark initiated was if the extension was granted, it pretty much goes back to whatever the original set of ordinances were before they were changed. Okay, so unless there's further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Yep, but if we go with this and the ordinance were to change, let's just pie in the sky, a PUD site plan gets approved for a particular piece of property that suddenly came out of nowhere in South Haven. And at that time, the parking was, you needed 2 per unit. And we say yes to the site plan, and then over the course of the year, we make it 3 per unit. And then they come back for the extension. Would this extension allow us then to have them come back and us relook at that now that the ordinance has changed?
The way this is written right now, the extension you would be granting would have been for the originally approved site plan. If
Okay.
you all wanted to make changes to the originally approved site plan, you would need to deny the extension request and
Okay.
make them resubmit.
Or if the developer wanted to make changes. If we made a change in, say, the parking from 1 to a half,
Correct. Theoretically, they would still have to come back and get a site
site
plan
plan
they'd have
amendment
to
at
come back
that
with a
point.
site plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could choose to do that.
Whoever wanted
Correct.
Yes.
to make a change.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, make a motion.
Look on Clark.
Clark, you gonna make it? Daryl?
I'll make the motion.
Did
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance text amendment as presented.
What?
Support.
Oh, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none.
This is a recommendation to city council.
Correct, yeah.
They always are. I don't think we make anything that's not a
Oh, yeah,
recommendation.
We do, we do. We have a little bit of authority.
Yeah, a little bit, but not very often do we wield that fine power. Roll call, if you would, Luke.
Did we do a public hearing on this one already?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that, nobody came forward.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Gruba,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes,
Hanny,
Yes.
Stegman.
No. Okay, now we move on to item 7, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the planning commission regarding items not on this agenda. Okay, seeing none, right? Nobody? We'll move on to unfinished business. These are discussion and non-actionable items. Number 8, residential building height.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is on the agenda tonight, really just to kick off what could be a brief discussion about residential building height. This is something that the Planning Commission has been discussing for several months, and when the proposed height text zoning ordinance amendments were last on the agenda, which I think was in February, we ended with a tie vote and a request for additional data on residential building heights in the city. So staff explored a few potential options that we thought might get us the data that you all were looking for, software options. These did not pan out, and we determined that there really is no good way for us to gather data on existing residential building height without spending months out in the field with a laser or a tape measure, measuring houses one by one. We really don't have the staffing to complete this task. So I guess what I wanted to do is kind of put the question back to you all. Where does this leave us now? Shall we bring the existing height text back? Is there some other residential height number you'd like to see? I just wanted to open it up for discussion.
Okay. Does anybody wish to discuss?
Well, I'll still go along with the thought that the building height for residential has been 35 feet for a number of years, and I hate to see somebody who builds a house and follows all the rules, and then we come along later on and lower the allowed building height, and now all of a sudden this person that thought they were doing everything right has a non-conforming property. And I know there's going to be at least several that will fall into that category. I understand the thought of people building houses out of the character of the neighborhood, but you can build houses outside the character of the neighborhood without changing anything with the building height. A building height is just one aspect of how a neighborhood looks. And so that's still my feeling on this.
I certainly understand George's point of view, and there's good validity in his point of view. I take pause because, at least my perception is, this city is full of permanent nonconformance. I mean, my lot is nonconforming. At some point, we have to consider weighing the right to change as our climate of our city changes, as the desires of the residents change. You know, we have to have that right to adjust ordinances, and knowing that it's going to cause some nonconformance. I don't think, the nonconformance, we're not going to force someone who's built to 35 feet, at least in my impression, we're not going to force them to take a half story off to become an enforcement or become in conformance. I'm not terribly married to either point of view. I can understand George's argument. I get it. My issue is protecting the integrity, the tradition, and the character of the neighborhoods. And I would argue that most of the homes that we're talking about that have built to that 35, that at least I see, are out of character with the neighborhood.
I didn't have a problem with the 35. I think what we were trying to come up with was some easier way to figure out number of floors for staff going forward.
Well, I think, Clark, but why we requested what we did is, if we are indeed basing this on the master plan's goal of maintaining the tradition and character of the neighborhoods, then we need to have a baseline. What is the tradition and character of the neighborhood? And that's why we requested the height data from what exists already. We know there are 35 footers out there, but certainly in the older neighborhoods like mine, 2.5 stories and less than 30 feet is the norm. So I understand asking for that data is probably too big of ask, but again, I will just state my displeasure at times that we have to defer to the difficulties that the staff has. Yet if we're going to put ordinance out there, then it's our responsibility to make sure staff has the resources they need to work with those ordinances. We don't adjust our approach based on resources available in the staff. We make ordinance based on what's best for the community, and then we staff appropriately to enforce.
Kelly, could you refresh our memory of how the elevation where the 0 plus minus 0 is considered? Did we finally figure that one out, or is that one still up in the air too?
In the proposed text,
Yeah.
was a natural grade language.
The average between high and low, is that what it was? Brian?
The average between the high and low, yes.
Yes.
Right.
yes.
Prior to disturbance, to the extent possible.
All right, I don't know. What other info you're looking from us? I think this one just comes down to
Just
who's
having
here
an
and when
odd
it's on
number.
the agenda,
Yeah.
right?
Which is not a good way to make a decision.
No, it's not. It'll probably be by one vote. I imagine. I don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
don't think we have consensus on that
No,
one. We're
that's
split.
okay. I just wanted to make sure, it's been a couple of months, just wanted to make sure that nothing had changed, and we'll get it ready to come back with another public hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Okay, new business, discussion, non-actionable item. And Clark, what page do you think we should have on the screen?
There are so many good pages.
Pick one,
No,
Clark.
give us a starter, because you've been scrolling through it, like 64, no. Was there like a 2-point perspective?
Yeah, it might be
What page is that?
91 might be a good one.
Yeah. That's probably the,
Yeah, that'll be a
Yeah.
good one. We'll go with page 91. All right, item 9, Center Street redevelopment. This is a preliminary site plan review. No action will be taken tonight. I imagine Kelly, Griffin, and Brad will want to comment on this one, and then we'll ask the developer and his team to come up and talk about the project.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, thanks, Tim. So, Mr. Chairman, sorry. The agenda tonight does contain what we perceive as an exciting mixed-use, multi-story PUD project for your review for the redevelopment of the 200 block of Center Street. The project, as you'll hear, contains commercial and retail spaces, public art, restroom facilities, residential units, and on-site main and second-level parking. I do want to stress this is a preliminary site plan review. Mr. Locker and his team will be presenting the project tonight to receive your feedback and comments so they can incorporate the information that you give them into their final plans, which will be coming back before you later this spring or summer, and we'll conduct a public hearing at that time. This project did not sprout up overnight. It's several years in the making. Before we hear from the applicants, I do want to give Griffin a chance to provide some background that will be important for you all to keep in mind as we move forward.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, on that same vein, just want to go over a little bit of history or context of this property. I'm sure, well, I know some of you have kind of been involved from the onset. Others of you are getting involved a little later in the process. So just so we can hopefully give everyone kind of a base level understanding of kind of the city's involvement and where this property has really been and where it's proposed to go. So after the Hales department store, the historic Hales department store, closed, the site really fell into disrepair. And for many years, the city was starting to identify this property as a significant redevelopment opportunity in our downtown because of the rare occasions so many downtown parcels all become available, all have the opportunity for redevelopment essentially at the same time. So our downtown has been looking to spur redevelopment for many years. Examples of this include redoing our streetscapes, upsizing the underground utility infrastructure in both the Phoenix and Center Street projects, creation of commercial rehab districts over our downtown, etc. And a lot of the discussions around these particularly have talked about how do we activate Center Street and get it to a similar level of activity and vibrancy as Phoenix Street. So progress really stalled for many years when it came to the redevelopment of these former Hales parcels because of some estate and back taxes challenges, and eventually the condition of the building just got into such disrepair that redevelopment of the existing structure was going to be impossible. But progress really started to kick off when Mr. Locker purchased it and demoed those buildings in 2019. Shortly after that, the former Hale sites were identified as priority redevelopment sites by the City of South Haven in conjunction with our 2022 Redevelopment Ready Community certification, which led to funding for technical assistance in 2021 to help develop a site-specific strategy for the property. That strategy incorporated significant public engagement. Many of us were involved in it, several stakeholder meetings, public open house, as well as a review of the city's existing plans and goals. Some of these plans and goals you all are very familiar with, things in our master plan, things our DDA plan, our economic development strategic plan, and then, of course, City Council's annual priorities to make sure that this project was in alignment and bluntly checking as many of those boxes as we could. Mr. Locker's team has then spent the last year and a half since the creation of that site-specific strategy, so most of 2022 updating their plans based largely on the work and feedback provided at that time. And now we're really excited to have this local family, local business owner, local developer who has a track record of investing and rehabbing buildings both in the downtown and throughout our community, looking to enhance another significant portion of our community. So we are excited to have their development team here today, and I do know that they have a couple exciting things to share with you if you're okay with that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Brad, was there anything you wanted to add at this time? Okay. All right. Randy, or no?
All right. Keeping it a little surprising tonight.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a beautiful picture near the end, but I'm fine with this. This will be fine. Thank you for asking. Good evening, everyone. Commission, thank you for an opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Adam Locker. I'm the co-project manager of the Center Street Development Project. And today I'm representing Locker and Locker Properties, as well as speaking on behalf of my parents, Randy and Karen Locker. They've been proud members of the South Haven community since 1986, when they opened the Carpet Shop on Quaker Street. They're known for their honesty, their kindness, and their fair business practices, and have always been committed to making South Haven a great place to live and to work. Over the past 35 years, they've maintained a reputation as good and honest people, actively participated at Hope Church, and have been engaged parents as my sisters and I made our way through the South Haven public school system. They've also played a significant role in the revitalization project at Radcliffe Field Stadium. Back in the 1990s, when downtown South Haven was growing, there was a lack of office space and retail storefronts. My father, Randy, recognized that the only way to expand was near the highway. He purchased the old Sherman property and transformed it into a strip mall that now houses 6 businesses. While there have been many different projects and successes that our company has experienced throughout the city of South Haven since then, our most recent achievement has been the redevelopment of 253 Center Street, a 3-story mixed-use building that's been neglected since the 1980s. It's now home to 3 businesses and nearly 20 full-time residents in 12 beautifully renovated apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floors. These projects have transformed unsightly spaces into desirable office, retail, and living areas, contributing to the overall aesthetic and functionality of downtown South Haven. To bring our desire to enhance the community full circle, we're redeveloping actually the very first property that my father developed in the early 90s, which is 516 Quaker Street. Over the last 30 years, that property, too, is in need of renewal and redevelopment. And it's now part of our comprehensive plan for the adjacent Center Street development project, which is why we're here tonight. Locker and Locker Properties purchased the property on Center Street between Quaker and Phoenix in May of 2019, and we've been working diligently for the past 4 years to develop a plan in collaboration with city leaders and community members that will bring important redevelopment to this once vibrant section of downtown South Haven. We're here tonight to request a waiver for additional height needed to provide downtown South Haven with a building made of high-quality materials, allowing space for public restrooms, significant long-term residential living space, as well as a parking solution that will keep this project from contributing to an already difficult parking situation in downtown South Haven. All of that in an area, as Griffin acknowledged, that has already been identified as a priority redevelopment site. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce part of the team that we've put together for this project and answer any questions that you may have regarding the project. Should they come forward, or are they good in their seats? All right. Looks like they're good in their seats. All right, so Randy and Karen Locker, both project managers and members of the Locker Properties company. Randy Timmer is next to them as a construction manager. Mike Gallivan is with Tower Pinkster, and our project manager, who we've been working with for the last over the last year. Tony Reiner, who is also with Tower Pinkster and is the lead architect on this project. And then Rob Lamer, who's a civil engineer with Excel Engineering. So we're excited for the team that's been put together, a ton of incredible professionals, and we're excited to respond to any questions you may have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to ask staff questions or the developer at this time?
My list says developer, but
Okay.
it's,
So I would assume you were looking for the engineer.
no, not necessarily.
Okay.
Maybe him too, but
All right. So
first of all,
who do you want to?
my first question has to do with signage.
Okay.
Have you
A
or
lot of people back there. I don't know who to direct the questions to.
I'll direct traffic.
That's good. That'll work, Randy. Have you or will you be developing standards for signage of your clients, your renters?
Yeah, it'll be the normal square footage type of signage that would go on the frontage of each unit that would be there.
Okay.
So, I mean, to code, that's already offered.
Just based on our current. okay.
Exactly.
All
Nothing
right.
would change on that.
Okay. Landscaping.
Mhm.
We have a 10% requirement, which I think is going to be very difficult. We found it very difficult in a recent development downtown. Do you have a concept of how you might come up with that?
We do have a landscape page on your agenda
Yeah.
that you have, so you should have that, and you can see what we have planned to do.
Okay. I don't know whether I could suggest this or not, but that might be another item to put on your list of items that might vary from the underlying zoning, just because of the difficulty of getting it in there. You're giving the city a lot in what you've got there, and this might be one thing we could work with you on giving back.
Thank you.
Just a suggestion. Somewhere I read in here in some of the staff documents or the engineer's document, perhaps, city engineers, turn space for the dumpster trucks. Have you looked at that? Whichever one of your engineers back there would be handling that. Is there room to turn that dumpster in? Or is that something that needs to be done yet? I realize we're looking at a preliminary site plan here, so maybe you haven't gotten to it yet.
Those are key questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, okay.
Some of those things we'll certainly look at when we get into
Okay.
details of it. I don't think we've gotten into turning radiuses for
Okay.
dumpsters and.
While you're here, I've got another question that
Sure.
might come to you. The question.
Can you pause on that for a second?
Sure.
So for the dumpsters, you have possibly a restaurant and however many units of residential. How do you calculate the size of the dumpster needed, or do you go to like daily trash pickup or?
Right. Whatever would be needed. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll do the biggest dumpster we can put in there that they would pick up, and then it would be on service of what is generated to use.
Okay.
So in other words, if there's space for a certain size dumpster, it would be emptied more often if it needed to be emptied more often.
Okay.
Okay.
Figured to hit that while you're talking
Yep,
about
no,
garbage.
no problem. The ramp that goes up to the first floor parking, according to something the city engineer wrote, looks to be 20%. And our ordinance is 10%. Is there room to bring that back down, or is that going to have to be another variance that we negotiate with you?
That perhaps might be another variance that would have to be brought up. A lot of times you're able to pull it off when it's covered because you're not worried about ice. It could be heated. But certainly what the advantage would be by having a steeper ramp would be more parking. So if we get into decreasing the slope, we would just probably get into a conversation about removing the amount of parking.
Okay, that's going to be a trade-off, and we'll have to be looking at that as we go along. Okay, all right. An item that Kelly had in her write-up was the first floor heights on the Phoenix Road side. As I understood it, the height of the first floor on the proposed structure was greater than the existing buildings that will be left in place. Is that what you were calling?
It's on page 48 of
Page
the
48, yes.
packet.
Yep, that was a comment that another consultant that we work with, Lene Wells, on occasion
Okay.
for project of the scale, we brought all hands on deck. Something she commented on, just in terms of when you are redeveloping into communities that have substantial existing downtowns, one thing the Planning Commission may want to consider as a way to incorporate a new building into the character of a historic downtown is to consider those types of sight lines. So it was just something for you all to think about, and if that's something you all want to have a discussion with the developer or not.
Okay.
About
Well,
or not.
I did think about it. And my question is, without redesigning your building, would it be possible to get the visual effect that the consultant suggested by just pulling that facing down a little bit lower and having less glass?
We're actually already lower than like our Phoenix Street building that we own on Phoenix Street, where the brewery's at, ceiling-wise and height-wise. And we're actually going to be lower than the building we just finished, the 3-story building on the corner on Center Street.
Yeah, but the question is the visual effect of the building that is next to where you're coming in.
Well, you want to speak to it? What we're looking at is, I'm sure they're looking at the
What are you
dome
talking, the
part
old
that
Merson
really
building?
has
I
nothing to
don't
do
know
with the
which one's
first
next
floor.
door there.
Okay.
Right, I mean, you're looking at like where the awning is and then the above windows, thinking that's pulled up higher.
Yeah, right.
So the awnings that you see in the arches, they represent the first level. That's at 13'2", so it lines up really nicely with the adjacent property so that the investment in the elevator and infrastructure can serve both properties. What we've tried to do is incorporate that arch to make that feel like one story so that nobody would recognize that there's parking. And the developers have decided to invest in glass and artificial ventilation so that it doesn't feel like a parking structure. But in essence, that canopy is your first level that aligns with the first floor of the adjacent architecture.
You're looking north, Larry, off of Phoenix?
Yes.
Could
yes.
you put up page 92? That has an elevation on it. So I think that's what Larry's talking about. And I think it's the bottom one.
Yeah, the
of
bottom
three.
sequence there, across the bottom. You see where you've got two buildings there. You got the white one that's approximately where the jewelry store is now.
Yep.
And then next to it, you've got one. And then that one compared with the one building the first building that's being left there. It looks like the ground floor is much taller.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
based on the floor height of that building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know offhand the first floor height of that building. Do you know offhand, Kelly?
Well,
Yeah, but in ground floor goes above
Yeah.
their, that glass, that whole front is the height of their, I think they're like 16 feet inside, so they're actually higher than what we are.
Yeah, that's true.
And
We
what,
already are.
and in terms of the architecture, what we felt was more important than the horizontal datums to contribute to the character of the city was the vertical rhythm of the other buildings. And that's why there was a deliberate intent to break that facade up so that you can see it matches with, because even the buildings going across the street have slight variations up and down that offer sort of a nice, unique human scale and experience. But we felt it was nicer to sort of break it up vertically and still do our best to keep that scale relatively similar to the adjacent architecture.
Okay, we discussed it. Thank you.
I guess I did have a question on the parking spaces. So it looks like there's going to be 70 parking spaces and 29 new units. So really only need 28, so there's, an extra. And then of the 12 current apartments, those will need 11. Were those taken out of this project, or are the 11 going to be added to the 28? So you really need 39 parking spaces.
I believe we have plenty in there for that, but I also own the parking lot across the street.
Okay.
Quaker Street. So if we were to take that building to use parking there, we could.
Okay, I'm just wondering I think you are taking out some 11 parking spaces that you need for the current building at 253.
Right.
Right. Just something to think about, because I just thought about that in the meeting, that there are, 11 required spaces there that it looks like are now, that lot's going to be gone, because that's the walkway and stuff, correct?
There's a lot on the ground floor.
Yeah, so you need to think about, think about, there's also 11 spaces that have been removed that need to be added back or accounted for.
Sure.
That's all.
And were those part of the approval for that one?
Well, for that one, I think anytime you had the housing down there, you needed the number less one.
Yeah, we can go back and look and see where those spots were.
It was.
That parking lot was
Yeah.
used as.
So if that gets taken away, it just needs to be replaced. So when we think about the project, there are providing 70 spaces, which will be some additional spaces for the restaurants and retail users, but then there's also 39 spaces that are required for the housing units.
Right.
That was one of them. And like I said, I've looked at this project multiple times and it just came to me 10 minutes ago. So when you see me typing, I'm just trying to remember my notes. And that was a new one. And I think the other thing that staff had mentioned that might be good with this project too, and I'm not sure if I'm calling it the right way, like a surety bond, some kind of bond that, let's just say, we dig a hole and then something happens.
Yeah, so, something we can talk about if it's something the planning commission's interested in, and, staff definitely can have a conversation with, Randy and his team, after this meeting is, something for projects of this scale that we have learned that, I guess traditionally we haven't done quite as often in South Haven, but for projects of this scale are quite common, is having a surety bond or having whoever is constructing the project for the developer provide a surety bond, include the city as a named party on there, and it provides an extra level of protection for both the developer financing the project and the community, that a project like this doesn't just stop halfway through. They became a little more common kind of post-2008 when a lot of subdivisions kind of flipped up and communities were left with half-developed projects for decades.
Central lofts? Central lofts?
So that's definitely something that, we can have a conversation about.
Okay, because it's just such a big project. I mean, it's exciting, big.
Yeah,
But-
that would definitely be a way
Okay.
to, I think, give some members of the public, no pun intended, but some extra surety that the project would be developed as planned.
Okay.
Performance.
That was
Yep,
just another
performance
question.
bond is another common.
Performance guarantee.
Well, could you guys talk about the rationale for the additional height. You know, why do you need it, and why do you think you need it? I just want to get the rationale for it.
Go ahead, you can start.
Page 2, probably you could go to. You know, certainly I'm a designer, not a business person, but you guys understand the impact that, you know, the latest economy has played on construction costs. And certainly I think it's economy of scale, and you get a return on your investment when you can have more parking, you can have more residential units to sell or purchase. And so there's a lot of efficiency in terms of the cost per square foot when this happens, where there's a really good chance when it comes down to within that ordinance, the economics might not pan out. The cost per square foot will increase quite significantly.
Lijah, if you don't mind, if I can too, you know, something our team's been real conscious about when even just having these discussions about this project, not only with these updated plans, but in regard to the site-specific strategy that was developed with the development team in 2021 of the concept of a taller project, so a project at 4 and 5 stories in this case. It allows the developer to provide a higher quality project in terms of investment materials, units, parking, bathrooms, those other types of public amenities that they wouldn't be able to otherwise.
I just wanted to get that out in the open so that they can say it on the record here. I had a pretty good idea of why they did it. I just wanted to make sure that it got put on the record. That's all. Thank you.
One question I had is, could you talk about the thought process as far as how you distributed the square footage of the different units? It seemed to me like you've got a good balance. Looking at page 81 of the packet, and it looks like you've got like 64% of the units are under 1,500 square feet, which I would think would be good for, you know, people that maybe are working downtown, also being able to live downtown also.
So,
Part of my role as a licensed real estate agent has been to manage the property, specifically the white box to the left, 253 Center Street, which has 12 residential units. Most of them average about 650 square feet. I took 4 calls on my way here tonight from people looking to move into our community. That size, from 600 to the closer to 1,500, which are the 2 bedrooms, is exactly what working professionals are looking for as they move into our community. And so what has happened is we have seen more calls on 2-bedroom apartments than we have on the 10 one-bedroom apartments that we have in the current apartment building. And so we've utilized the information gathered by simply renting those 12 units to help influence the way that we've developed the size of those. Because the bigger you get, the more cost per square foot. And it becomes out of reach for a lot of people. And so we are trying to continue to create space for people to live full-time downtown South Haven.
Can I back you up just a little bit to make sure I understand? The old Hale building, the white piece there, you said the size of those units are 650 square feet?
Not the old Hale building. Well, that might be way before my time.
Well,
if
yeah.
that was the old Hale
Well, I've been
building,
here
I think of
40
it
years, so.
further in the middle. But I'm talking the corner of Center and Quaker.
Right.
Yes, yeah, the second and third
Those are
floor.
Those are 650.
Those are 650 and above. So our 1-bedroom units average about 650 square feet.
And you said the calls you were getting are looking for?
Even more. 2-bedroom is the goal. And like I said, and this isn't not just conjecture, but literally on the way here, the amount of calls that I continue to get on a regular basis, and we're full. All of the apartments that we offer on Phoenix Street and at Center Street are completely full.
So would these be rentals, or are you selling the condos?
well, we're working on that mix right now, actually.
Okay, because you had mentioned people wanted to live and work downtown. If they're working downtown, they probably can't afford these condos. So,
Well, I mean, we have professionals in the building on the corner.
Yes.
Are all professionals.
yeah, but
We would have no-
those are rentals. You're talking, if someone were to purchase one of these condos.
Right. So, yeah, I guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, I mean,
Let me see if I can follow up with that, Clark, because I think you're asking a similar question I'm.
yeah, I just didn't know if these were going to be rental units or if these were going to be for sale. Because
Well-
they were just said condos as opposed to apartments.
Right.
So when I see condo, I was thinking that, oh, they're probably going to sell these units. So these really aren't for rent. These are going to be sold.
We will have a mix.
A mix, okay.
Mix of condos that will be sold.
Okay.
And
And that-
apartments that we will lease out.
And that unit mix is something that has already been brought up, that, you know, the development team is aware that's a level of detail they're going to have
Okay.
for final approval. And at this level, they're still working through their financial side to figure
Thank you.
out what works for them.
And I'm sure that for a project of this size, you're not going to be able to get back a gain if you're just doing straight rentals. That there is not even feasible.
Right.
My years of banking tells me that you're going to have to be able to sell some of those is to undercut some of that cost.
Right.
I'm not sure whether my question is for staff or. But here we go. First of all, I'm absolutely thrilled about this project. I have been from the beginning. I think we're very fortunate, Randy, to have you as a developer, because I know you carry hometown values with you, and you can't pay enough money for that. I know in your heart you want to do what's best for the city. Griffin, you mentioned earlier that we have some plans out there, and one of the things I was excited about, and you won't recall this, but one of the extraordinary things you did was have the public, invite the public in and run them through and let us write down suggestions. That's amazing. But one of the things I was really excited about was the idea of this being a catalyst to revitalize downtown. I truly believe it is. But the part that really appealed to me is by doing so by appealing to a specific demographic. Our economic development plan calls for the anywhere worker as an option for the over-reliance on the tourism industry that we have. One of the issues that has been holding us up from attracting anywhere workers is there's no place for them to reside.
Right.
So we're not talking a young family. We might be talking a 30-year-old designer that needs one bedroom for an office and one bedroom to live in, or maybe even in that building somewhere is a shared workspace, somewhat akin to the Think Bar, so that we have a group of young entrepreneurs. My question was, what I wonder about, these are not rich people. When you're a young entrepreneur starting out, cash flow is pretty important. And I was surprised to see the size being 1,000. I thought you might have included some 650, 750, just to attract that particular demographic. Because I see this, my hope, my vision, and what gets me really excited about this is, imagine the city being alive 12 months a year. I mean, that's going to help the restaurants, it's going to help just about everybody, plus just the dynamism in terms of what we're attracting a different population. You know, I'm not going to knock that this is largely a senior city, because I've joined those ranks. But I sure love the idea of young professionals being able, it's placemaking is what it is. Providing them a place where they can live, where they can work, and they can play. And specifically, my point is, this might be for the staff. I love the idea that we're using the PUD. I love the flexibility that gives us. Of course, I think you'll agree it's unusual to use this PUD approach in the CBD. They're more typically thought of to be subdivision developments, whatever, much more like Everett Park, whatever. It's a good, but my point of using the PUD is the basis of PUD is that we're going to grant variances in return for community benefits. Now, much as I love you, 65 feet is a significant variance, it's going to change the cityscape. And we as a city should use that opportunity to look for significant benefit. How will this building, and please, let me make sure I say this. No way I'm suggesting that you build affordable housing. That's not your role. Your role is to make money. But also providing that opportunity to introduce that dynamism downtown. You know, right now our downtown is primarily tourist focused. But I love your approach to retail that we talked about too. Retail that appeals to a different, to your young professional club, you know? So I love that idea. Again, our economic development strategic plan begs for those anywhere workers to be a significant part of our revitalization of our economy. The other plans that I think are impacted is our master plan talks about town development and specifically called out housing for millennials and seniors. Now, again, I don't expect you to build a senior home, but that's what our master plan calls for in goal number 3. So I'd just like us to consider as we move forward in those deviations, and maybe it is an economic thing that you couldn't have smaller apartments. But I'm going to tell you that's something that's near and dear to me, to have not a lot, but an opportunity for young people to move here, start their career here, live in town, work in town, and have, you know, we got 8 coffee shops, but maybe the 9th one will be the winner.
So, Mike, I think a couple comments that immediately come to mind. I think you bring up some great points about the plan that many of us, those are things we're all thinking about regularly. So not necessarily answers, but I think a couple things in terms of, you know, revitalization or the economic development impacts that we've talked a lot about with their team that are a little adjacent to what you were talking about is the importance that a project of this scale would have to activating Center Street. Just in terms of, you know, regularly our community talks about how vibrant Phoenix is, and then we get off to Center Street and it just has such a different feel to it. And we've been saying that for decades, and yet nothing has necessarily changed in regard to that. I think we've seen a lot of movement over the last couple years, and a project like this would be instrumental there. The other one that, Mike, I know you and I have had conversations about before as well is, you know, Ryan Kilpatrick, a housing consultant the city works with a lot regularly, also talks about the effect of flow-down housing, particularly when we talk about, yes, South Haven needs housing. South Haven needs housing at a variety of different price points, and providing different options in terms of square footage, number of bedrooms, locations, that opens up possibilities for people at higher income levels who are potentially taking spaces in different income level apartments that are preventing people from lower income levels from moving up in the housing market. So adding housing at any price point is going to start to shake up the impact of the flow down housing. I also want to, I guess, more just clarify, because I know we're recorded, we're on our broadcasting, and this will be shared and reviewed. We've been using the word variance a couple times tonight when talking about the PUD. I just want to clarify that the more appropriate term we want to use is a waiver. That's the term that our zoning ordinance contemplates when it comes to granting deviations from the zoning ordinance for a PUD. We'd be granting a waiver. And the last comment I'll have on all that, Mike, is just I agree with you completely when we're talking about a project of this size and this scale that it should have significant public benefit provided to the city to be granted a waiver like that. At the end of the day, that's a decision that you all make a recommendation on to the city council. So for as much or as little as it's worth, I will speak on behalf of our team and staff that we do feel that this is a transformational project in our downtown, and are taking the position that both the direct and indirect public benefits provided by a project like this in our town are very significant.
Yeah, and nothing I said is counter to that.
Oh, absolutely. Correct.
And I don't hold the Locker family responsible for changing the dynamic and culture of our city.
Absolutely.
I'm simply saying PUD is a two-sided equation.
Yes, it is.
We give you this deviation. you give us this benefit.
Yes.
And what I read in the staff's plan, I'm just telling you, I'm not comfortable that there's enough benefit. And don't take it the wrong way. I just think that this is a wonderful opportunity to actually impact the demographic of this town and breathe some life into it. I can't wait to have you guys get this done. I'll be the first one in the restaurants, I promise you.
So Mike, if I can speak to that a little bit.
Randy, why don't you come up to the mic?
Oh, sorry. If I can speak to it a little bit, when you talked about making the units smaller and, appealing to that demographic, if you will. So one thing that we've been able to do now over the last 2 years since we've had 235 Center done, with having those 10 one-bedroom units, we've been able to see that, yes, there was a need for it. But I think we've filled the need currently right now of that one-bedroom smaller unit. And what we're finding is, as Adam said, is that we have the people now that are looking, the families, instead of just the single person. So now we have the people that are looking for the two-bedroom units, and that's what we want to be able to provide. I think we've got 10 of those, but we only have two bedrooms in that building. So let's expand upon that and try and get some more of the families too. So I think that's where we're at with the footage-wise anyway.
The young family that's not ready for a home.
Right, exactly. Yep.
I think,
or potentially that demographic will never want a home.
That's right.
I think another thing we need to remember is that these goals that we're talking about are citywide goals.
Right.
And not every goal is going to be solved in every project we look at. Perhaps downtown is not the place to solve the low-income housing problem.
Well, I never used the words low income. I specifically stated that it's not, I don't expect them to build affordable housing. No. But a young engineer who wants to become a design consultant, who's working out of their own office, making $100,000 a year, ought to be able to afford downtown.
Okay. And Larry, you mentioned goals. If I can piggyback on that, I think that's an important thing that I would at least suggest all of you consider when thinking about the public benefit provided by a project like this is, yes, some public benefits are going to be very tangible things. For example, space for a public restroom. Other public benefits are going to be advancing big picture, long-term city goals from these various plans, things such as the DDA having on their priority list for as long as I can remember things that address parking challenges, or city council for 4 or 5 years having a tangible priority that talked about bringing more housing to the downtown. So I recognize that some of these things may feel not as public benefit as others, but I'd encourage us just to think about this kind of in the aggregate and all of the different boxes in terms of goals and priorities that the city has, and that this seems to check a lot of them.
No argument. I think you're missing my point, Griff. I think it's a great project. I think it's great as written. I'm simply saying I'm trying to represent the residents of this town, saying, hey, we have an opportunity here. That's what PUDs do. We have an opportunity to do extraordinary things to meet the developer's needs. That means we have a chance to do extraordinary things in terms of benefits. Nothing that I say do I want to disparage this project. I'd wave a wand and be done tomorrow if I could.
I'm pretty excited about it. There's some design things that, I might, but we all have our opinions on that. Reminds me too much of Bellwood, Illinois, or Naperville, but anyway. That being said, one of the things, I think it was the first meeting that I came to as Planning Commission, was brought up about the opportunity for housing for young professionals. And this project meets that need.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that, because there are a lot of young people that I know that are away at college that want to come home. And this is going to provide that opportunity. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just to echo, excuse me, to echo what my fellow members have stated, I am really excited about this. When I started to look at the plan, and I really looked at every intricate piece, because I don't know if you remember Mr. Locker, 88. I worked for him, and not that it matters, but he taught me to go to college, and not to be picking up all them carpet pallets and all of that. I got it. But what I want us to really look at is not to bury another project in bureaucracy. And I understand that ultimately we have to govern by the master plan, and we want to ensure that our landscape is, it fits in with the landscape. But I think that we should be progressive, and I'm not saying that we're not, but this is just my take on this. To be able to offer housing for individuals that are young professionals, to be able to come in that are not, that don't want to be homeowners, and or that have already been homeowners and don't want to, I'm done with that. You know, they're empty nesters, and to be able to get down where the fun is. So I think that as I saw this, I was very excited. There are some things that I think that are going to be where we're going to have to strategize, where we're going to have to look at it. But like Michael, I don't think that there's anything that is a deal stopper. There's anything that I would say that I have major concerns with. I had someone to DM me right when I was coming, and they said, hey, remember, affordable housing. But this is not an affordable housing project. I get it. I understand it. I think that we have an affordable housing issues, and we're headed down a pathway on that. But this here is a totally different project, and I'm just excited for this. And Michael, use your wand and let's make it happen.
I tried. 71 years old. Didn't work.
I want my daughter to come home after college.
Did everybody?
I'm also excited about this project. One question I have, and this is maybe starting with staff. So on page 51 of the packet, and this is based on Mr. Campbell's comment, you said you didn't think the need for a scale model. Could you just expand on that?
Yeah, that was going to be my question too.
Scale models, really architecturally, they're not used very much in site plan reviews anymore. They, as he had mentioned, they tend to cost, $20,000, $30,000 to prepare. And with the new technology, with the three-dimensional design on computers, that has kind of replaced the need or the necessity to actually build these cardboard or plastic models that the architects used to do. It's, by all means, you can require it if you would like to do something like that, but it's usually not seen very frequently anymore.
I want to jump in on what George said, because you're right, Brad, but that's also something I would like to see. There is imaging out there that digitally can give you that answer without building a physical model. But I think we need that. One thing we have to keep in mind, this is significantly changing the cityscape, significantly. And the public has a right to see what that's going to look like. As I was talking to some of your neighbors, and I know how proactive you've been, Randy, in talking to all of them and making sure that you're keeping them all up to date on what's going on and whatever. And I think that's one of the missing pieces. We've got to provide that visual, what the cityscape's going to actually look like. Because you also talked, Randy, to me about one time about how that corner is going to be the welcoming part of our downtown. You got beautiful Clem's up there. We're going to have your beautiful Anchor on the other side. And unfortunately, aesthetics is branding. And that's going to have an impact on the attractiveness of our city as well. So I would encourage us to produce some of that digital imaging. I don't think you need a physical model, but.
So one thing I think is really important to understand is this is a concept. We're not even in schematic. And as part of our next step, there will be models. And fortunately, with 3D printing, it's not as a significant of an investment for the developer. And we would make that necessary upon ourselves to make responsible design decisions. But it's our feeling that typically what adds more value in terms of the investment is letting the community understand what's the human experience at the street, not necessarily only, the view of a bird. And so I think that's really important to understand the massing in terms of how that translates in experience. But what's going to be more important is how it feels on the street. Somebody's going to want to know, well, what about when I turn onto Phoenix and I'm coming downtown? So all of those views, I think, will have a lot of weight. But the modeling process is just natural in the design, and we'll provide it.
Wasn't trying to rush it, but it was in the staff notes.
Oh, sorry.
That everybody? That's a good thing about being a chair. If I sit here long enough, I can just, as you guys mention things, I can just check them off. I do have a couple minor things I just wanted to mention. So Kelly, if you look at page 97, which is the proposal, page 22, and if you look at the top, you see a hand railing, right? So that, I assume there's a kind of a walkout deck up there.
Yep.
And then if you back up to page 96, I notice in the top, I don't know how much I buy into this lighting proposal, because I would think there'd be lights up on the top for the deck. So maybe could make that a little more accurate instead of fading out the top story. Other one, since you're talking about models and all that, I think for next month, if you're coming next month, probably the most genuine thing we could have is like a north, south, east, west skyline photo. Like say from the center of Phoenix and Broadway, take a photo and to scale, at least put the roof line of the skyline and maybe 360. That might help, because I'm sure that'll be part of the public hearing and discussion. So that might get us along a little further. And then page 20 of the proposal, page 95 of the agenda, maybe just add an approximate percentage of those materials. And I mention that because I think during the 335 Center, Janice had talked about brick, and the developer had chosen to add some brick, and I don't know that between that and like the comparison with Verano, if that actually met her expectations, but I would expect she would ask, how much of that is brick? And then you'll be ahead of the game if you just assign an approximation to that. And my last one's really for staff. And Mike, I think, had talked about it with the PUD. Now, the PUD, does that add anything to the first floor retail? Is there any benefit to having a PUD for the first floor? Or does the PUD primarily go for the height and the residential aspect?
So PUD is the entire project. I mean, it's a mixed-use project.
Right.
So, yeah, so I guess it doesn't have to do with just now that there's residential on top.
But it adds more residential density than otherwise would normally be acceptable, correct?
There's no density requirement in the central business district, so that wouldn't play in for this one. What it allows them to do is design a project differently than they would if they had to follow the underlying zoning.
And I guess that's my point. What we need to be specific about, and I know we've hit a lot of the points of it, but what is the largest or the main reason a PUD is being used for this development?
The main reason the PUD is being used for this development is they're seeking a height waiver. They're seeking to build a building taller than would be allowed by the underlying zoning. And the PUD process allows them to make that request in exchange for significant public benefit.
Okay. So I think that's it for now. Does that give you enough feedback? Was there anything this commission didn't touch on that you were wondering? And, you know, maybe the next time it comes back, maybe they didn't think of it, that you think, oh, now they see something. What's your opinion on it now?
I think we're good. I think we can answer the questions that you have with no problem and move forward.
Okay.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I would
Yeah.
just like to hit a little bit on what next steps likely look like, just both for all of you and for whoever's listening at home. Just to be aware, you know, a project of this scale, it's got several more steps it's got to go through. So likely what will happen is, you know, both staff will regroup and the development team will regroup, you know, following this meeting and start preparing the final plans that would need to get brought back to you all at a future meeting. At that time, it would need to be publicly noticed, a public hearing would be held, and you all would be able to continue to discuss the project and/or decide to make a recommendation. Because it is a PUD, ultimately you all will be making a recommendation to the city council. This project would then go to the city council where another public hearing would be held and city council would ultimately vote on the project. So timeline-wise, we are still looking, you know, in terms of the upcoming months, and just making sure that you all in the public who's listening is aware there's going to be at least 2 opportunities for public hearings, if not others.
Okay. So you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but if this were to be approved, you know, sometime this summer, when would you anticipate starting?
To get our final drawings and stuff together, we're probably at least 12 months out.
Okay.
You know, the time we deal with the state, and we deal with final drawings and stuff, we would be at least that out.
I think there was some language in the staff report, Mr. Chairman, that contemplated from the applicant that their goal would be to get their approvals this summer and then have the building constructed and people starting to move in by midway through 2026.
26, yeah. Well, I'm just going through my mind, you know, the public hearing through this, and then you go another month, city council, and if it were to get hung up there, I don't know, quite a few months out just from this approval process, let alone other things, so.
And after 12 months of the approval, if you haven't started the project.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's in my mind right now. I don't know.
Okay. I think that's it. So
All right.
thank you for your time this evening.
Perfect. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
By the way, did city change paper vendors?
Not that I'm aware of. If there is there
This
feedback
new
on the-
paper, my ballpoint pen doesn't agree with. It's kind of slick and
Is
it
it our
doesn't wanna
paper or your
write.
pen?
Use a
No,
pencil.
it's just fine on the other one.
Use a
so.
pencil. I know it's
I'm
old-fashioned,
just,
but
I'm just teasing. I don't know.
It's designed for those big ginormous pens that
Something's
you got
going
for
on.
the holidays.
Those big ginormous pens.
Wax paper.
I still have mine.
Okay, so now we'll go to commission member and staff comments. And then Kelly, if you have any, be on our radar updates for next time around, let us know. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I do want to let you all know, I don't know how many of you receive updates from MSU Extension. They sent an email with some upcoming training opportunities. I will forward it all in case you haven't seen it. Most of them look like webinars, but there may be a few things there that would be of some interest. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Michael Neese,
Yeah,
but I'm hoping that you'll give a report out
Absolutely.
when it's your turn.
I will.
So I won't say any more about that now.
Yep.
And if you're looking, you do want like a next, coming up right now or after we kind of go
No,
around the room?
now's fine. What do you think we have coming
Oh,
up?
I think the biggest thing that we have on our agenda is the continuation of the Center Street project. And I think we'll continue to look at zoning ordinance, potential zoning ordinance amendments. We are continuing to work on the comprehensive zoning ordinance update. We do have a couple of smaller site plan review projects that will be coming your way as well.
Okay, thank you. Griffin?
My only comment is many of you or several of you have received an email from me in the past couple weeks. We are getting close to our annual reappointment process for boards and commissions. Traditionally, we accept applications towards end of April, and then the mayor and city council make determinations on appointments and reappointments in May. So just as a friendly reminder to those of you who received that note from me, if you are interested in being considered for reappointment, please make sure you get me those materials as soon as possible. Other than that, I'll put it out for those listening at home. We also have other openings on boards and commissions, and we're always looking for dedicated volunteers who are looking to serve their community. So if anyone is interested in serving on a board or commission, please feel free and submit that application or reach out to staff. We're happy to talk about those opportunities.
Okay. Brad, I'm sure you don't have anything, right?
No, I don't, unless you have some questions for me.
No, that's okay.
They had it nailed down tonight.
Luke, any new chess moves that we should be practicing?
It's a 2,000-year-old game, so nothing's come out in a while.
Okay.
Did you say you'd been at it 2,000 years? Is that what you said?
He's holding up pretty well, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, Mr. Darrell.
No comment. Nothing.
No, well, I guess no comments other than I'm glad that we had an opportunity to provide some feedback prior to having to provide, decisions on the project. That's it.
Larry?
Some heavy lifting tonight, and more of it coming. So, thank you all for participating and being prepared. Very helpful. And thank you, staff, for preparing us.
Thank you, staff. You guys do a great job. Appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone who came tonight to give us input on the stuff we have before us. We appreciate your input and your time. That's it.
And I will indeed pick up on what Kelly said. I completed the citizen planner last night, all 18 hours. I don't have my certificate yet.
Nice job.
But I need to tell you, that is one great program. If you've not taken advantage of it, I will continue on for my master's certified planner. The only bad part about the program, by the way, if you get a chance to take it live with a real audience, do so. My class had 50 different administrative folks from the Lakeshore. Everything from ZBA, people sitting on the ZBA, to mayors, to commissioners, to township commissioners. It was fabulous. So you got real-time work with real issues. So please do take advantage of it. The only bummer was, at the end of the session, the instructor, Tyler, was outstanding. He said, "You're the second best student I've had from South Haven recently." Apparently, someone took the zoning administrator course and aced it. So, so I will be continuing on because I need to claim that first place. So thank you to the city for offering me the opportunity to do that. It was extremely well. I wish there was a way we could require it before you sit down here. The first thing I did tonight when I saw Larry is said, "Larry, I'm sorry, you were right." It's what I didn't know that made me a commissioner not up to snuff. What I know now is left me much more prepared. So take advantage of it.
And it always changes every time there's a meeting, doesn't it? It's not static. I was coming in the door this evening, and I forgot to write it down, but there's an update we need on something that's been ongoing, and I have to remember what it is. Do you know what it is?
Oh, I do.
I have a suspicion you may be asking about fire pit ordinances.
That was one of them.
Okay.
But that wasn't the primary one. There's something else.
Okay.
But when I think of it, I'll let you know, because
Okay.
we do need an update on it.
Okay.
All right. And we don't have any other ad hoc committees anymore, right?
We do have.
No, it wasn't the houseboats.
Is it the grants, the two, so we have two grants in that we're waiting responses for 2023 master plan and shoreline erosion
Yeah,
study.
Wasn't that either. This is something way more important than any
See,
of
we
the
got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Compensation for, no,
I don't know. And I was like, yeah, we got to get an update on that. Now I can't remember what it is. Too much stuff in between. But anyway, okay. It's almost 9 o'clock. It's 2 hours. Very, very good. Thank everybody for attending. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. And when is our next meeting? It's on-
Next meeting will be May 4th, the first Thursday of the month, as usual.
Yep.
So that's coming up quick.
May the 4th
Yeah.
be with us.
Yep. All right, it's been moved and supported, and you have your next meeting update. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.